The morning sun filtered through the studio windows as Lorraine Kelly welcomed her audience with her signature warm smile. The set buzzing with anticipation for the day's special guest, Sir Paul McCartney, the legendary Beatle whose music had shaped generations. As the cameras rolled, Lorraine introduced him with effusive praise, recounting his illustrious career from the Fab Four to his solo triumphs, and Paul strode onto the stage looking dapper in a casual blazer and jeans, waving to the cheering crowd. They settled into the plush sofas, and the conversation began lightly, with Lorraine asking about his latest album and upcoming tour dates, Paul responding with his characteristic charm and wit, sharing anecdotes about recording sessions and collaborations with younger artists. He laughed heartily as he recalled a funny story from his time with Wings, and the audience lapped it up, the atmosphere electric with nostalgia and excitement. But as the interview progressed, Lorraine steered the discussion toward more personal territory, probing into Paul's environmental activism and his views on current global issues, which he addressed thoughtfully, emphasizing the importance of sustainability and peace. Yet, there was a subtle shift when she brought up his past relationships and the Beatles' breakup, questions that Paul had fielded countless times but seemed to irk him slightly this morning, his smile fading just a tad as he politely redirected. Lorraine, known for her probing style, didn't let up, delving deeper into rumors about his family life and recent public appearances, and Paul began to show signs of discomfort, shifting in his seat and glancing at the producers offstage. The tension built gradually, like a slow-burning fuse, as Lorraine pressed on with a question about his stance on animal rights, which Paul passionately defended, but she countered with a pointed remark about hypocrisy in the music industry, citing examples that seemed to target him indirectly. Paul's eyebrows furrowed, and he interjected firmly, defending his lifelong commitment to vegetarianism and charity work, his voice rising just a notch above his usual mellow tone. The audience murmured, sensing the shift, and Lorraine tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but it fell flat, only adding fuel to the emerging fire. As the segment continued, Paul elaborated on his experiences with fame, sharing heartfelt stories about John Lennon and George Harrison. But Lorraine interrupted with a question about alleged feuds, which Paul dismissed as tabloid nonsense, his patience visibly wearing thin. The exchange grew more animated, with Paul gesturing emphatically and Lorraine maintaining her composure, but the undercurrent of disagreement was palpable, setting the stage for what would become an unforgettable on-air moment that no one in the studio or watching at home could have predicted, a clash between two icons that would spark headlines worldwide and leave viewers stunned by the unexpected turn of events in what started as a routine morning chat show appearance. As the interview delved deeper, Lorraine Kelly, with her years of experience hosting candid conversations, posed a question about Paul McCartney's recent comments on politics, specifically his views on Brexit and its impact on the arts, which Paul answered diplomatically, expressing concern for cultural exchange and unity. However, Lorraine challenged him on what she perceived as naivety in celebrity involvement in politics, suggesting that musicians should stick to entertaining rather than opining on complex issues, a remark that struck a nerve with Paul, who had long used his platform for advocacy. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, and retorted that art and activism have always intertwined, citing historical examples like Bob Dylan and his own anti-war songs, his voice gaining intensity as he defended the right of artists to speak out. The audience shifted uncomfortably, some applauding Paul's passion while others whispered in surprise at the escalating tone. Lorraine, undeterred, brought up a controversial tweet Paul had made about environmental policies, questioning its accuracy and implying it was ill-informed, which prompted Paul to pull out his phone mid-interview to fact-check, a move that caught everyone off guard and added to the drama. He read aloud from a reliable source, proving his point, but Lorraine countered with her own interpretation, leading to a back-and-forth that resembled a debate more than a friendly chat. Paul's frustration mounted as he accused the show of sensationalism, saying he expected a respectful dialogue, not an ambush, and Lorraine defended her journalistic integrity, insisting she was merely seeking clarity for the viewers. The producers in the control room exchanged worried glances, signaling to wrap up the segment, but the momentum carried on, with Paul recounting personal anecdotes from his activism days, including marches and fundraisers, to illustrate his commitment, while Lorraine interjected with follow-ups that seemed to question his motives. The argument intensified when the topic shifted to animal testing, where Paul vehemently opposed it, sharing stories from his farm life. But Lorraine played devil's advocate, mentioning scientific advancements, which Paul dismissed as outdated excuses. His face reddened slightly, and he raised his voice, emphasizing the ethical imperatives, while the live band in the corner fidgeted, unsure if they should interlude. Viewers at home flooded social media with reactions, some siding with Paul for his principled stand, others appreciating Lorraine's tough questions. As the interview transformed into a riveting spectacle of clashing perspectives, Paul, feeling cornered, began to question the show's agenda, hinting at pre-interview agreements that were being ignored, and Lorraine assured him it was all in good faith. But the trust had eroded, leading to a palpable standoff that hung in the air like a storm cloud, threatening to burst at any moment and forever alter the dynamics of celebrity interviews on daytime television. The heated argument reached a boiling point when Lorraine Kelly directly confronted Paul McCartney about rumors surrounding his business ventures, particularly investments in sustainable tech that some critics labeled as greenwashing, a term Paul vehemently rejected, slamming his hand on the armrest for emphasis and declaring it a smear campaign by detractors. He elaborated on his genuine efforts to combat climate change, detailing partnerships with scientists and NGOs, his passion evident in every word as he spoke of future generations and the planet's fragility. Lorraine, sensing the intensity, tried to pivot to lighter topics like his favorite Beatles memories, but Paul wasn't having it, accusing her of dodging the real issues and using fluff to fill airtime, which elicited gasps from the studio audience. She responded by defending the show's format, explaining that viewers tune in for entertainment, not lectures, but Paul countered that informed discussion is the essence of good television, his Liverpool accent thickening with emotion. The exchange grew personal as Lorraine referenced a past interview where Paul had been more reserved, implying he was now overly defensive. And Paul shot back that times have changed and so has the media's responsibility. Cameras captured every nuance of the beads of sweat on Paul's forehead, Lorraine's tight smiley, and the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Offstage, crew members whispered frantically, one even preparing to go to commercial, but the director let it roll, captivated by the raw authenticity. Paul then brought up broader media ethics, criticizing sensationalist journalism that prioritizes clicks over truth, and Lorraine took it as a direct attack on her profession, her voice sharpening as she listed her awards and long career. The audience divided, some cheering Paul's boldness, others booing what they saw as rudeness, creating a chaotic symphony of noise that amplified the drama. Paul, feeling misrepresented, began to unclip his microphone, muttering about wasted time. But Lorraine urged him to stay, attempting to de-escalate with compliments on his legacy. Yet, the damage was done. Paul's retorts became more pointed, accusing the show of ambushing guests for ratings, and Lorraine firmly stated that all questions were fair game. This back and forth continued for what felt like an eternity, with Paul invoking quotes from Gandhi and MLK to bolster his arguments on peace and justice, while Lorraine countered with practical realities of modern life. The segment, originally slated for 10 minutes, stretched longer, drawing in more viewers as word spread online, turning a standard morning show into a viral phenomenon that would be dissected for days, highlighting the fine line between probing journalism and confrontational spectacle in the age of instant media. Escalation hit new heights as Paul McCartney, now fully engaged in the fray, challenged Lorraine Kelly on her own environmental footprint, pointing out the carbon emissions from television production and suggesting hypocrisy in critiquing others while ignoring industry impacts, a jab that left Lorraine momentarily speechless before she rallied with facts about the show's green initiatives. Paul wasn't convinced, pressing further on corporate sponsorships that conflicted with ethical stances, his experience as a global advocate giving weight to his words, as he listed examples from his own career where he turned down lucrative deals for moral reasons. The audience erupted in a mix of applause and murmurs, the energy in the room electric and unpredictable. Lorraine, regaining composure, accused Paul of being out of touch with everyday struggles, arguing that not everyone has the luxury of idealism, which Paul dismissed as defeatist, urging collective action instead. Their voices overlapped in a cacophony of disagreement, with Paul gesturing wildly and Lorraine maintaining a steely gaze, the cameras zooming in on their expressions to capture the intensity. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, debating whether to intervene, but the live broadcast demanded they let it play out, turning the studio into a battleground of ideas. Paul then shifted to music's role in social change, reciting lyrics from Give Peace a Chance to illustrate his point. But Lorraine interrupted, questioning the relevance in today's divided world, sparking Paul to defend the timelessness of hope. The argument circled back to personal jabs, with Lorraine hinting at Paul's privileged life and Paul retorting about her scripted persona, each word escalating the conflict further. Viewers at home were glued to their screens, social media exploding with hashtags like #PaulVs.Lorraine, as clips went viral in real time. Paul, feeling the weight of the confrontation, stood up abruptly, declaring he wouldn't be part of a circus, and began to walk toward the exit, microphone still attached, trailing wires behind him. Lorraine called after him, pleading for resolution, but Paul paused only to say that respect is key in any dialogue, a statement that resonated deeply with some while infuriating others. The chaos peaked as security hovered nearby, unsure of protocol, and the band struck up an awkward tune to fill the void. This moment, frozen in broadcast history, exemplified how a simple interview could unravel into a profound clash of worldviews, leaving both participants and the audience reflecting on the boundaries of public discourse and the power of unfiltered emotion on live television. In the climactic turn, Lorraine Kelly, pushed to her limit by Paul McCartney's unrelenting critiques, made the unprecedented decision to end the interview abruptly, signaling to the control room to cut to commercial as Paul continued his tirade on media responsibility. But Paul, undeterred, removed his earpiece and microphone pack, tossing them onto the sofa with a dramatic flair, declaring that he was done with the charade and that true conversation requires mutual respect, not confrontation. The audience gasped in unison, some standing to applaud his exit while others booed, creating a divided house that mirrored broader societal rifts. Lorraine, composed but visibly shaken, addressed the camera directly, apologizing for the disruption and promising to continue the show after the break. Her voice steady despite the turmoil. As Paul stormed offstage, crew members parted like the Red Sea, whispers following him down the hallway about the legendary walkout. Back on set, Lorraine smoothed her dress and took a sip of water, the weight of the moment settling in as she prepared to pivot to the next segment, perhaps a cooking demo or celebrity gossip, anything to normalize the atmosphere. Meanwhile, in the green room, Paul gathered his belongings, muttering to his entourage about the ambush and vowing never to return, his frustration evident but tempered by his inherent graciousness. The incident quickly became fodder for news outlets, with analysts debating who was at fault, Paul for overreacting or Lorraine for provoking. Social media lit up with memes, polls, and think pieces, some praising Paul's authenticity, others defending Lorraine's right to ask tough questions. In the aftermath, Paul's team issued a statement emphasizing his commitment to civil discourse, while Lorraine's show released one expressing regret over the heated exchange but standing by the integrity of the interview. The event sparked discussions on celebrity interviews, with experts weighing in on the evolving dynamics between hosts and guests in an era of accountability. Fans of both rallied online, sharing clips and opinions, turning a morning mishap into a cultural touchstone. Paul, reflecting later, might have seen it as a teachable moment, using it to fuel new songs or activism, while Lorraine continued her reign as a beloved host, perhaps with a newfound caution in her approach. The kickoff, symbolic of clashing egos and ideals, left an indelible mark on television history, reminding all that even legends have breaking points and that live TV remains an unpredictable arena where anything can happen. The repercussions of Paul McCartney's dramatic exit from Lorraine Kelly's show rippled far beyond the studio walls, igniting a media frenzy that dominated headlines for weeks, with tabloids dissecting every frame of the argument and speculating on behind-the-scenes drama. Fans and critics alike pored over the footage, analyzing body language and tone, some hailing Paul as a hero for standing his ground against perceived bullying, while others criticized him for lacking composure on a light-hearted program. Lorraine, in subsequent episodes, addressed the incident with humor and humility, joking about needing stronger coffee for future interviews, which endeared her further to her loyal viewers. Paul's music saw a surge in streams, as the publicity reminded the world of his enduring relevance, and he channeled the experience into a poignant op-ed on respectful dialogue in media. Talk shows across the globe referenced the event, with hosts like Jimmy Fallon parodying it in skits, blending satire with commentary on celebrity culture. Social platforms buzzed with user-generated content, from edited videos syncing the argument to Beatles tunes to petitions for a reconciliation episode. Industry insiders whispered about potential blacklisting or apologies, but both parties moved on gracefully, Paul embarking on a tour and Lorraine hosting more guests with her trademark warmth. The incident prompted broader conversations on mental health in the spotlight, with advocates praising Paul's boundary setting as a model for others. In retrospect, what began as a heated argument evolved into a catalyst for change, encouraging media outlets to rethink interview formats and prioritize empathy. Paul's legacy, already monumental, gained a layer of modern defiance, proving that even at his age, he remained unafraid to speak truth to power. Lorraine's show, resilient as ever, bounced back with record ratings, the controversy ironically boosting its profile. Years later, the clip would resurface in compilations of iconic TV moments, a testament to the unpredictable nature of live broadcasting. For Paul, it was a blip in a storied career, but one that reinforced his values for Lorraine, a reminder of the fine balance in hosting. Ultimately, the kickoff served as a mirror to society's divides, sparking unity in debate and leaving a lasting impression on how we engage with icons in the public eye, a narrative that continues to unfold in the ever-evolving landscape of entertainment and discourse.